I honestly don't know if this is a good or a bad thing yet. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and in today's video, the last video of 2024 for Red Sea Radio, which is absolutely wild to say. This year has been an absolute whirlwind in the best way possible, and I just want to take a second and say thank you for everything you guys have done for this channel in 2024. I cannot wait to see what 2025 brings, but today we're breaking down the latest comments by Craig Breslow and where they stand in 2025, plus some things that could have a big impact on the 2025 season. Thank you all very much for clicking on the last one here in 2024. Let's get into it. Okay, so like I said in the intro, Craig Breslow yesterday hopped on a Zoom call to talk about the Walker Buehler signing, as well as the rest of where they're at in 25 and what their outlook is coming into the season. And there are a couple things in here we already kind of knew, like this quote right here. Given that most of the heavy lifting in the rotation is largely done, I think we'll shift our focus to thinking about how to balance out the lineup. We've talked about some right-handed bat helping to equalize the significant number of left-handed hitters that we have, and then also we'll probably look to add in the bullpen as well. This again is something we already knew, right? The Red Sox have been kind of talking about this right-handed bat they're going to add basically this entire offseason. We know that they're sort of on the peripherals for two of the bigger bats still left on the market, but not fully in on those guys, so I don't really know what the big bat that they're going to add is going to look like. It kind of sounds like it's going to end up coming via the trade market, and honestly, that could be just about anybody, right? The Red Sox can put together a package for a lot of really impactful bats. I don't know if it's going to be that. I don't know if it's going to be, hey, maybe we get a platoon player like Randall Grichuk or Tyler Ward into this organization that can be used as a DH, or maybe someone in the outfield. I honestly don't know where that bat's going to come from, but we knew that the Red Sox were going for that bat. I also really like the fact that the Red Sox are still looking to add to this bullpen. I think the bullpen's actually in a pretty solid place, especially now that you've got depth in your rotation, but it can always get better. I think one more legitimately impact name in this bullpen really sets the Red Sox up for a solidified bullpen in 2025, which was their biggest problem in 2024. So I love the fact that Breslow is still looking to add to that bullpen, even if it's in-depth moves. Creating as wide of a net as you possibly can for this bullpen is a really smart thing to do. One other thing that I think is kind of interesting that came out of this that isn't really a huge news story, but I do think it's worth mentioning, is that he kind of named Carlos Narvaez the backup catcher for 2025, saying this is someone they're really excited about, especially with pitch framing and receiving. If you remember, this is a guy that they traded for from the Yankees, who is that really great defensive catcher with some potential pop, who hasn't really had a ton of time in Major League Baseball. I actually don't mind this at all. I think Narvaez is exactly what you're kind of looking for in a backup catcher. You want someone who's going to be really good defensively. I think the added in bonus that he has some pop from the right-hand side could be something intriguing to watch, but I think it boils down to him being a really solid defensive catcher, and really, that's all you're looking for. I probably would have liked them to get someone with a little bit more veteran experience in here, but if they're comfortable with his defense, then I'm perfectly fine with it. The one thing I will say is that this does kind of diminish their depth a little bit, right? It's sort of down to Sebi Zavala in their minor league system as a guy who has major league experience who could come up if one of these guys get injured. So keep an eye out on the possibility of them trading for some sort of minor league catching depth as either before the season or as the season goes on. The other thing that I think this could indicate is that the Red Sox are looking at catchers in this year's MLB draft. There's a lot of really good potential catchers in this year's draft, so I think that could be a focus as well. But all in all, I do think this could end up being a really solid pickup for this Red Sox team. However, these are not the big news items I wanted to talk about. There were two things that came out yesterday in both the Craig Breslow and just MLB in general that really, in my opinion, play a significant role in 2025. The first sort of big ticket item in this video is that Breslow admitted that him, Cora, and Bailey have kicked around the idea of a six-man rotation to start the season. Quote, the schedule early in the season potentially lends itself to maybe using a sixth starter, but it doesn't make a ton of sense to make that decision right now. We'll be open-minded. We'll see how spring training proceeds. To me, this is incredibly interesting because on one hand, this makes all the sense in the world, especially coming out of the gate. Walker Buehler's coming off of a half season because of Tommy John, right? This is his first full season after the Tommy John surgery. It's probably not a bad idea to really sort of stretch him out early in the season to let him loose later parts or even the middle parts of this year. Lucas Giolito obviously is coming off of that internal brace surgery, who, by the way, did an interview yesterday where he said, "I'm full go." I don't know why people... This is him talking. I don't know why people thought that I wasn't going to be ready for opening day. He's saying he's full go for spring training. He's full go for a regular offseason. He's full go for a regular season. But at the same time, too, I think obviously the Red Sox are going to have some sort of pitching inning limitation on Giolito, as they don't want to re-injure that elbow right away. So again, getting him that extra day of rest, stretching him out a bit more than probably initially anticipated is a really good idea. Then you look at guys like Crochet, who again had an innings limit last year. He's going to be off his leash this year, but it isn't a bad idea to start him off slowly. Houck, Bayo, Crawford, those were guys who did fall apart a little bit in the middle parts of the season because they weren't used to the wear and tear of a full season yet. So I don't hate the idea at all of a six-man rotation, especially out the gate, and especially because of the depth you built up in the rotation. You have some long relief options that would alleviate some of the pressure of a bullpen if you were to go six-man. Garrett Whitlock being healthy is going to be a big part of that. Cooper Criswell, Craig Breslow specifically mentioned as someone who could be a part of that. You've got guys like Winkowski kind of looking on the outside in as multiple inning options. Then you've got depth pieces like Fitz, Priester, Penrod, even Hunter Dobbins at some point, right? Those are guys who could do multiple innings out of the bullpen. So you are kind of set up here early on to really solidify yourself into a six-man rotation and not see a ton of downside. However, on the other hand, this could also be a really terrible idea, especially because your bullpen last year, again, was your biggest problem, right? You had the 7th worst bullpen ERA in baseball, and a big reason for that is, one, because you didn't have a ton of depth overall in that bullpen to last you a full year, but two, because at some point they got overused and guys started to break down a little bit. That's my fear with a six-man rotation, is that you really need to make sure that your bullpen is in a good place the entire season, and starting them off with a higher workload than normal because you have to take out an arm from the bullpen to put them into the rotation could be a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. So it scares me a little bit that the Red Sox are thinking about this, but I also think it could be a really good thing. I'm sort of directly in the middle of the fence here, especially if the Red Sox end up only doing this for, let's say, the first stretch of the season, month and a half. I think it could be a really, really good way to ensure that your rotation stays healthy, which is going to be the biggest factor, in my opinion, to the Red Sox success this season. Honestly, if it's just a couple of months or a month or a stretch of games, I really like it. If it's the full season, I get super nervous about it. I don't think they're thinking the full season. I think they're thinking more of a first part of the season, which I'm more okay with. But overall, I think this is a really interesting debate to have amongst Red Sox fans. So let me know. What do you think? Do you want a six-man rotation for the Red Sox, even if it is just for a stretch of time, especially if they don't make another addition to this bullpen? The other bigger news item I wanted to talk about in this video was the Red Sox kind of getting snubbed by Roki Sasaki. Craig Breslow admitted in his presser, I will say, I don't really know what to call it, that the Red Sox did send a pitch to Roki. They sent out basically an informational packet and some light notes onto why they could be a good fit for Roki. They talked about how they've been successful with MPB players in the past and all that good stuff, yet they didn't get a in-person meeting with Roki Sasaki. Roki essentially picked a few teams here. I can't remember the exact total, but there were a few teams that Roki met with in person over in LA. The Red Sox weren't one of them, and it doesn't sound like the Red Sox are going to end up being one of them. Joel Wolf, Roki Sasaki's agent, basically had a similar presser yesterday as well, and in that, he essentially said that, yeah, the door is kind of closing on those in-person meetings. We're moving on to starting to eliminate teams from contention. There's a possibility still that the Red Sox do get a meeting. He did mention that they are keeping it open for maybe one or two teams to get an in-person meeting. It just really doesn't sound like the Red Sox are inside anywhere in that sweepstakes. It sounds like they are, or they have been, exiled from the Roki Sasaki sweepstakes, and I think that is absolutely terrible. Roki is such a fantastic talent. He's going to be a really impactful pitcher at the major league level, and for the Red Sox to not even get remotely considered is slightly embarrassing, right? This was a guy, right now you've got an entire regime dedicated to pitching in the Red Sox system, and they couldn't convince Roki Sasaki that they were worth his time. I really, really don't like that. Honestly, though, I don't really understand why the Red Sox weren't included in this. I think a lot of people are going to point towards, oh, the Red Sox are too cheap for Roki Sasaki, but this isn't about money, right? We've talked about this 100 times. Roki is capped in what he can earn in his first year or so here in Major League Baseball, so it's not going to come down to a money factor as to why Roki Sasaki didn't choose the Red Sox. Some people are going to point towards the Red Sox haven't won anything in a while. They aren't a competitive team right now. And I guess you could make that argument, but then the argument kind of falls apart because the Chicago White Sox, they got an in-person meeting with Roki Sasaki. So I don't really know what the true reason is as to why the Red Sox weren't included. I really hope the Red Sox aren't getting this sort of reputation for, I don't know, not doing a good job with these NPB players, because they are going to be extremely important to the future of some of these organizations. There's some real talent coming over from the NPB, and I really hope this doesn't become a trend. I also hope that this has nothing to do with the fact that it's pretty public the Red Sox aren't super comfortable with the contract that they gave Masataka Yoshida, or maybe Masa's sitting there saying, yeah, they're forcing me to be a DH. Maybe he doesn't love that either. I really don't like that idea. I'm not sure, and I don't want to put that out there as a fact simply because that's just me coming up with a conspiracy theory, not so much anything that's been legitimately reported. But either way, it's not exactly a good thing that Roki Sasaki is saying, yeah, I don't even want to think about coming to Boston. We knew that this was a long shot coming into this whole thing, right? We knew that Roki to the Red Sox was, I don't know, a 0.01% chance, but now that chance is down to 0.00001%, and that makes things a whole lot worse. So I really, really don't like the fact that he is not included, or the Red Sox are not included in anything to do with Roki Sasaki, to the point where he didn't even bother meeting with them. Again, it's just kind of embarrassing, isn't it? It's a little bit embarrassing. I don't know the reason why. I don't think it has to do with money or a lack of winning. I just don't get it, to be honest with you. Either way, whole lot of news in today's video. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about it all? What do you think about Craig Breslow's current plans for the rest of the offseason? What do you think about the catching update? What do you think about the rotation update? And what do you think about Roki basically saying, yeah, I'm good with that whole Boston thing? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It helps out a ton. It's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Thank you all, not only for clicking on this one, but for clicking on all the videos we made in 2024. I had a ton of fun this year, and I cannot wait to cover the 2025 Red Sox with you all. Thank you all so much, and I will see you in the red seats.